So as someone who grew up in the late 80s and early 90s, because, well, I'm kind of old, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were a staple of my childhood. And for many kids, it was a staple of their childhood, whether you're talking about the movies, the cartoons, or, of course, the video games. And some of those video games are some timeless classics that people still love today. And it's kind of been a bit of a resurgence for the Ninja Turtles franchise, I feel, within the past few years, at least on the video game side of things, because you're kind of in this Renaissance era. You know, you got things like the Cowabunga collection, a collection of a bunch of classic Ninja Turtle games. You have new entries like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge, which was a phenomenal game. I mean, you had Raekwon the Chef and Ghostface Killer on the soundtrack. Like, it doesn't get better than that, folks. Wu-Tang, Wu-Tang. But, of course, companies are going to take notice of this, and Nickelodeon is a company that is taking notice of this. And in 2017, a game released in the arcades called Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Arcade Wrath of the Mutants, and it seemed like this was going to be an arcade game that was just going to be an arcade game. Now, I had never played this game before. It's based on an older, or I guess more modern, but it's still kind of older, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles art style, but now the game has released on home consoles. I ended up picking up the Nintendo Switch version of the game because I felt like that would probably have the most interest on my channel, although I am not a Nintendo YouTuber. And I have some things to say about this game. It retails for $30. I got it for the pre-order bonus of $25. No review copy on this because the company has a really weird way of distributing review copies. But what is this game? And if you're a fan of the Ninja Turtles, should you pick it up? That's what we're going to discover in this video. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. So to start things off, I honestly thought there was no story in this game because you kind of just pick a difficulty and then you choose a level, all of the levels being accessible right at the start except for the final level, which is Shredder. And I didn't realize there was a story in this game until I got to the end of the game, and there was like a cutscene kind of saying like something, like I won't spoil it, it's really not that big of a deal, but there was like a cutscene story at the end, and I was very confused by this. I went back and like rebooted up the game to see if I missed something at the start, or maybe there was a cutscene at the start of the game when you choose your level. But no, there definitely wasn't. There's just a cutscene at the end of the game that tells you why you are going and fighting, you know, Shredder and his minions. So I thought that was kind of weird, but this is an arcade game, even though, I mean, lots of arcade games have stories, but we got to get into the gameplay of the game because that's what really matters here. Now, being that this is an arcade game, you would think that, you know, it would be a bit skimpish on terms of content. Arcade games are known for trying to get as much money out of you as possible, but I think they did an okay job of kind of extending this game as far as the gameplay is concerned. Like I said, you pick your level, and then you just go into it. You start battling foot soldiers or Krang's weirdos or some guys in suits and stuff like that. And all the levels themselves are based on pretty much what you would expect. Like I said, I'm not familiar with this era of Ninja Turtle stuff, but all of the levels were familiar enough for me, and I thought that was a good thing. As far as the combat is concerned, you know, it feels a lot like a Ninja Turtles game that you grew up playing if you're old like me, or maybe you experience with the Cowabunga collection. You, of course, have the 4 Ninja Turtles to choose from, each with their, I guess, kind of their own abilities. I don't know. They all kind of feel very similar. It's just your turtle power attack, which is like your special attack that you build up this meter and then you press a button when it's full. Like, that will be different, but really the result of it is kind of the same. But the combat, yeah, you know, I thought it was fine. You know, the traversal is fine. Moving around, you're jumping, you're slashing, you're trying to avoid attacks. There's environmental attacks going on as well. There are, you know, like fire hydrants. You can hit the fire hydrant and have it shoot out and hit your foot soldiers that are in your way. Each game, or each level, I should say, has a sub-boss battle and then a boss battle at the end of it. So you can get a decent amount of characters, most of which I was familiar with. One of them, I had no idea who that was. You know, it's fine. I don't think it's necessarily great. I don't think it's reinventing the wheel, you know, and it feels like it's very it's kind of hard to say. So like you get these abilities on the map where you can access Leatherhead and Metalhead to come and help you out, but they're like at predetermined spots in the level. Like it's just an icon that you pick up and then they'll come and like help you clear the screen or whatever. I would have liked to have a little bit more autonomy over that, like actually have control of when I decided to use that. But that's just kind of me personally. I mean, maybe some people will have no problem with that. The game itself, like you would imagine, it's a bit on the short side. I picked this game up this morning, and 1 hour and 9 minutes later, I had defeated the game. And I was kind of surprised with that, mostly because there's really no sort of end game like stuff to do. Like it's all sort of based on high scores, which is fine if you're playing in an arcade, but if you're playing it at home, like you wouldn't really care about the high scores and the leaderboards and stuff like that unless they were online. And well, there's no online in this game. There's no online multiplayer. There's no online leaderboards or anything like that. Everything is just local multiplayer. And like I get that, but bro, it's 2024. Like Shredder's Revenge had full online multiplayer and it was priced at the same price as this. Shredder's Revenge also had a ton of unlockables, and as far as I can tell with my playthrough of the game, there was no unlockables besides just a harder difficulty. The game offers easy and normal difficulty, and when you beat the game on normal, you unlock hard. And like that's cool. Like normal was fine. You get I believe 3 lives and 2 continues, which I never got a game over screen when playing through it, but I don't know that I necessarily want to replay through the game on hard mode just to be like, oh, you know, I beat the game again. Maybe there is some unlockable stuff with hard mode, but I didn't feel like there was any sort of incentive to go back and do it. Graphically speaking and performance-wise, it seems fine on the Switch. Like, you know, it's a different style of Ninja Turtle, and sometimes the levels can feel a little bit samey in their designs, but I did think there were some cool, you know, nuances in there. Like, there's an amusement park that has, like, a haunted house section that I thought that was kind of cool. There was also Krang, like, shooting the laser eyes through the wall and stuff like that in one thing. That was pretty cool. You can throw the enemies towards the screen like you do in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Turtles in Time. Nice little nod back to that. You know, it's fine. The music itself is fine. It's nothing spectacular. And I really feel like that's kind of the mantra I have with this game. You know, I don't think that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Wrath of the Mutants is a bad game because, you know, I had fun with it. I did have a smile on my face when playing it, but I just feel like, you know, it could have been more. It feels like kind of a rush job for this arcade game, which is weird considering this game came out like 7 years ago or something like that. The fact that it doesn't have any sort of online multiplayer or anything like that, or really like unlockables and stuff and hidden stuff, at least as far as I can tell, which I did play through the game and beat the game, so kiss my ass, Spawnwave. He likes to shame me because sometimes I'll abandon games and stuff like that, but I beat this one, pal. Like, it just felt like it could have been a little bit more. And it probably should have been a little bit more. They did add some additional levels from the arcade version of the game. They added in 2 more levels that were not featured in the arcade version of the game. But like I said, I played through and beat this game in 1 hour and 9 minutes. And I feel like if there had been unlockables or online multiplayer or online leaderboards, I would have a bit more of an incentive to want to go back and, you know, play through it again. But as it stands now, I don't know if I have that sort of feeling. You know, it's not as good as some of the classic games, your Turtles in Time. It's not nearly as good as Shredder's Revenge, but I still don't think it's a bad game. I think if you're a diehard Ninja Turtles fan, like, there's definitely some fun to be had here, and there's some, you know, throwbacks and little nods to the classic games, which I think is good. But at the same time, I feel like this game, it could have been more. You know, it could have been more, and it probably should have been more, just because of the fact that we have these higher quality Turtle games coming out nowadays. We have stuff like Shredder's Revenge, the Cowabunga Collection, and it feels like if this would have came out alongside of the arcade version before we had this renaissance of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle games, like, I think people would like this game a lot more. But as it stands now, it's fine. I had fun with it. I don't necessarily regret my purchase of it, you know, and I probably will play through it again, you know, later on, maybe later in the week or, you know, later in the month or something like that, because I did have some fun with it, but it was a little bit disappointing, I feel, at the end of the day. So there you have it, folks. Those are my thoughts on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Arcade Wrath of the Mutants. Terrible name. Just get rid of the arcade part. Like, everyone knows it's an arcade game. It's a 2D side-scrolling beat-em-up. Like, it looks like an arcade game. But, you know, it's not a bad game. It's definitely not a bad game, but it's not a great game. And I don't even know if it's necessarily a good game, but it's more leaning towards the good side of things than the bad side of things. So let me know what you think of this game in the comment section down below. Like I said, this is the Nintendo Switch version of the game. I don't know or think it's different on any other platforms. And as always, guys, thank you for checking out this video. Like I said at the start, if you are new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button, like, comment, and share. Hit the bell as well. And as always, I'll catch you guys on the next video. Later.